Hello, everybody. Welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. It is a fun, casual joint. It is a Monday afternoon, and it's time for a fun, casual chat. Bobby Carpenter over here. Zach Boren, also to my right. He's back for the first time in a while. Great to see him.
Thanks,
Nicole
Zach.
Cox has also been gone for like 3 or 4 months. Bob, she's been on vacation.
3 or 4 months.
Jet setting around.
Should get a new passport because you got it all stamped up.
You guys.
First person I know that didn't actually expire it. There was no room at the end.
I've been in Columbus.
Oh,
I've just been doing that thing called my job. Just been working. We had our golf outing last week.
How did it go?
It was great. It was great. Thanks for asking. We could not have asked for a more perfect day. 74 degrees, perfectly sunny. And all of our vendors are part of it and have supported it for the last 13 years. And it was a huge success.
You know what a perfect day for a golf outing is today?
Yes.
It's nice and swampy, real soupy outside.
Yeah.
It helps loosen your back up, though. If you've got some ailments, I mean, you don't have to worry about that. Just more dehydration.
Activate the glutes.
Then after 9 holes, when you're clogging in your golf shoes, you
look like what's his name?
Lucas Glover.
Lucas Glover.
Yeah.
Looked like he got in a pool.
He was
sweating down his crack.
He was in a full swamp.
Oh, you feel so bad for people when that happens. But
especially when you just won your first PGA event.
The good news is that he got, a couple $1 million to buy a new pair of pants. So he was good to go on that.
He was fine.
Buy some talcum powder.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicole, what was the money for?
It goes towards the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer, James Cancer Hospital. So for the fight against cancer, just such a great cause. Yeah.
Breaking records, raising money.
Yes. Trying every year.
It's fine for you to miss a couple of shows.
Thanks, guys. We were really busy.
Continue the fight.
It's a lot to put it together, but it's so worth it. It's my favorite day of the year.
Buckeyes have been busy too. Training camp is over. You get to move out of that hotel.
Yeah, I kind of like living in a hotel. Mickey Mantle did, so it seems like a nice deal, especially when you're in Columbus. Friendly confines. People make your bed every day for you. You feel like you accomplished it, but someone else did it.
Well, so it's much better than when they where they're at now compared to.
Yeah, because we're right down the street here.
What was it called? Campus Inn? No.
University Inn.
University
Plaza.
University
you
Plaza.
You didn't stay at the Blackwell?
No, they don't stay there
at the Blackwell
now.
They stay at the Hyatt down in Grandview Yard.
Yeah.
Which is great, really nice. But the University Inn or University Plaza,
I remember.
They tore it down. That's what the Marriott is now, right down the street.
I remember.
It was not great.
It was bad.
Not great. But, it was easier to sneak out of, though, because it was really big, so you had some opportunities there on the weekend nights. Maybe.
Yeah, we're also there for 4 weeks instead of like 10 days now. They're in the Hyatt for 10 days. We were there for 4 weeks.
Because we didn't have school, so they start school tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they have to get out to go to class.
When did we start school?
Oh, because
September.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, because it was quarters.
It was 10 weeks. We'd only go for 10 weeks before.
Yeah.
So the coach always be give me the school first, football second.
Yep.
So let's go. Make sure we take care of business this week.
Pay attention to the numbers.
Yes.
There'll be a test later. Sounds like you guys are jealous of this setup down there at the Hyatt.
Oh, it's great.
I got it my senior year, and it was phenomenal.
Cruise across.
Oh my God, it was great. Yeah, it was.
Got tons of restaurants down there.
The food was good. We ate at. I don't think is it Eddie George's still? Eddie George's.
No,
Grill
they changed it to something else.
They changed it. Like that's where we had a meal. University Plaza. They brought over. It was like old Olive Garden pasta that they would serve every night. You remember that?
Great, yeah.
And the breadsticks were like rock hard. It was just bad food. Like
it wasn't
really
like this spread that we have here. This delicious.
No.
Spread.
Roosters just takes care of the coaches, not the players.
They do. What is that Thursday or what day do you guys?
We used to only be able to take care of the coaches because of NCAA. Yeah. We were very we'd put a little note there because you just
That's right.
You don't want to be the reason.
Hey, players, don't eat this.
Yes, seriously, you don't ever want to be the reason the players can't actually play. Yeah. So, but now they'll reach out to us sometimes to feed the players, like. The university will pay for it, but we're always happy to do
What
that.
day was the coaches catering? Is that Thursday?
Tuesday. I thought it was Monday, Tuesday. We do it 2 days a week now.
Oh, nice. Even better.
It used to be Thursday. It was Thursday lunch. Yeah. Back when I was in school, I was every Thursday.
Back then.
Now you do Monday, Tuesday?
In coordination with the coaches show.
Monday, Yep.
I'm just trying to figure out
Monday, Thursday now.
Okay. Just wanting to cruise through there because usually there's the chips are over there.
They are.
Jay-Z decided not to show up today because he got chips and he's satisfied. He's just checking out. He's done.
Where is Jay-Z
Posting that
today?
on a set. He's playing golf as well. So
good for him.
That time.
I think he's playing at the cheerleader. That's where Scarlett over there today.
He's in a
he's in
I
think the
Chop 5.
Chop 5.
Another Buckeye Cruise.
Westerville.
Oh my!
He's at Medallion.
That's exactly.
That's right. He said that.
I love when he just dangles that out there. Like sometimes he's inviting me to play knowing that I can't, and sometimes he's just like, "I'm going to play at another outing. Suck it." That's tough. Anyway, so training camp is over. We are inside 2 weeks until Ohio State at Indiana. So it's getting real. What have we learned about the Buckeyes at this point, Bob?
That we have two quarterbacks that have done some good things and maybe some not great things. I think the defense is pretty good. I think the offensive line has progressed. It's a pretty good spot where you feel okay about it, especially running the ball. I think they'll continue to improve, the pass blocking. The receivers are elite. I think you feel very good about the maturity of this team. The captains were selected. You look at the three guys, and those are usually the guys who I think kind of embody what your team is. And so you look at Xavier Johnson, you look at Cade Stover, you look at Tommy Eichenberg. Guys are all selfless. Two of them have changed position moves, special teams, kind of whatever they've been asked to do. And, especially Tommy coming back this year, I think that was a big move for him. Probably could have left. And you always ask yourself, and we had conversations after the season, like, is there things you want to achieve here still? And so being a two-time captain, I think James said they're the 16th or 17th in Ohio State history, so that's definitely a big deal. And, he could very easily be a first-team All-American, win a Big Ten championship, which they haven't won here in the last couple of years, beat Michigan, and hopefully onward and upward to other great things.
Yeah, I think Cade was a captain last year too, right? This year there's two. There's two-time captains, right? Which that's probably the first time ever that any team's had that.
Yeah.
Things you've learned. This team is very deep, much deeper than we've seen in the past. The defense, Bob said's good. Defense, in my opinion, is very good. One of the better defenses we've seen in a long time here at Ohio State. I mean, this could be, a 2019 defense. It's you look at the secondary. There are some guys who get after these dudes, which we haven't seen in a while. Which would be really good to see. Obviously, you like the linebacker and core, Steele, Tommy. Those guys are great. You're going to see, Mitchell Melton, some of those guys step up, who are going to be really good. And defense line's deep, very deep, with some guys who can absolutely ball. Bob brought up the offensive line. I think that was the biggest question mark going into camp besides quarterback. Offensive line's gotten stronger and stronger throughout camp. I know I was over there last week in inside drill, and the offensive line just completely dominated. And you're just sitting there like, man, these dudes look good.
Didn't happen in spring.
No, definitely did not happen in spring. Now, I don't think there's as much depth on the offensive line as you would like. But if those guys stay healthy, those starting five guys, it's going to be a dang good offensive line. And then obviously you can't forget about the wide receivers and running backs, which in my opinion, from a depth standpoint, in the running back room, they might not have the accolades that, Michigan has with Corum and Edwards, but those guys are elite in my opinion, man. Those guys are really good. Even some of those young guys like Dallin Hayden, Chip Trainum, who's going to be able to show you some different things, and wide receivers are absolutely stacked. So the quarterback can manage the offense, can lead, can make the right decisions, put the guys in right position, and make the throws when needed. This team could be really good.
Nicole, Bob touched on the captains. I know you've spent some time around both Tommy and Cade.
Yes.
So I guess you probably would have co-signed those votes.
Absolutely. I was just thinking when Bobby brought it up that Tommy Eichenberg, you know me, I look at the little things, the things that maybe not everybody's looking at. But Tommy was at a football camp this summer with my son. And I think I brought it up on another episode, but my son came home.
Camper of the day.
Yeah. My son came home and said that Tommy was the nicest and just went out of his way to help the kids where, some of the other players weren't. He just made the kids feel special. And that is the definition of a leader. A leader is taking yourself out of it and focusing on all those around you. And so I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy for them that this is their second year doing that. And I'm sure that's going to make them feel great as well. So I think it's going to be a great season.
One thing about Tommy, I heard he parks in handicap spaces though. So
really,
joking.
Doesn't put away his cards.
I'm joking. Leaves his shopping carts.
For you to start those rumors, Bob, that's uncalled
Because
for.
Tommy's an elite human. All three of those guys are. I mean, Xavier, you can watch Xavier around at the weight room, and he'll walk around afterwards. Even when he had his little foot deal after the spring when he broke his ankle or foot, whatever the heck he had, he was like pushing around his little cart, and he'd pick up all the towels that guys would leave out there. Oh yeah.
You guys, if I ever saw that, I mean, I'd be passing out stickers or something. I mean, I'm serious.
Well, they
That
passed them out of
scene-
captaincy.
I
So
thought you have
Oh, my
Roosters gift cards
gosh.
just in your
I
pocket.
would, guys, seeing things like that, just kindness and just going the extra mile. I think as parents too, we try to teach our kids that be the one that stays back and helps clean up all the cones and like just do that extra thing. It just makes you that much of a leader for your team. I don't know. That's very important to me. So I love when I hear stories
Oh, yeah.
about that.
good
Yeah.
guys.
Tremendous honor. I mean, to think you show up as a walk-on, you play some on the defensive side of the ball. You're just trying to do whatever you can to stay on the roster and add value to Ohio State. Now you score against Notre Dame, a go-ahead touchdown. You score.
It's
in
kind of the
Peach
game
Bowl.
one that broke the game open.
The first one did for sure. Like
I was
they
actually
needed
watching it on TV last week. They were doing a rewind of it.
Mm.
And you're right. Third
Special
quarter, he
teams.
comes out, man, and catches that touchdown, broke the game open.
and now you're the Block O. That's a new tradition, of course. Wasn't around when either of you two were playing, but it carries a lot of weight. Something that Ryan Day wanted to put out there. So get a new jersey and get an honor that not a lot of people ever get to have.
I might spend time this weekend going back in the Twitter when it was the artist formerly known as Twitter and digging through some freezing cold takes on Tommy Eichenberg from 2 seasons ago.
I would look right around the Tulsa game.
Oh,
think
yes.
Zach and I had to give some thoughts about how.
Oh yeah, I remember.
We did.
I kept the receipts on those for some of the critics out there that said he was garbage, trash, shouldn't play at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Mike was a 2-time captain, and if he stays healthy this year, I'm guessing he'll probably end up being a first-team All-American, second team last year. So, talking to some NFL scouts, people love him. I mean, with what he can do. They're like, if Jack, what's his name at Iowa?
Hey, listen.
Like, if he's a first
I
rounder,
was just about to say,
Tommy's better than him.
If Jack Campbell is a first rounder, Tommy Eichenberg's a first round draft pick.
He's not quite as big, maybe doesn't have quite the measurables, but he's a better player. So
he's more athletic. He runs better. He's a better tackler. Yeah, better open field player. And you look in the NFL, it's an open field game.
All right, so we can't continue without talking about the fact that, as Bob said, there are 2 quarterbacks for Ohio State. Neither Kyle McCord nor Devin Brown have been named the starter. It seems quite likely that both will play against Indiana at this point, subject to change, subject to Ryan Day's decision. Nicole, start with you,
Okay.
because you seem to have some
Gut
ideas about
reaction.
whether this is good or not.
I've been thinking about it basically the whole
You
time we've
changed
been
your
on the show.
mind?
No, I
Okay.
haven't changed my mind. I think it's great. I think it's great because if you have just one guy, that means the backup is not getting the experience and the reps that he needs to be as good as the starter.
Mhm.
I mean, so if you have them both in and they're both playing one, I think that's going to throw off the opposing team a little bit to not be able to prepare for just one quarterback.
Mhm.
I understand you don't get the flow like you usually would if you had just the same guy in there, but I think that makes your team more versatile.
Okay.
So,
I don't think we can argue with any of those points.
okay, good.
no, those
I
are
think they're pretty great.
those are the positive aspects of having 2 quarterbacks. The part that you mentioned, like the flow.
Time for you to be negative, Bob. Give
Well,
the
I mean, that's
negative.
Bring
just-
it in.
No, I mean, it's like preparing for 2 guys. You're keeping them both engaged. You know, the question becomes is like, how do you manage the transition of who goes in when? Is it a preset, a prefixed substitution where, you know, you get 2 series, and then we get alternate, and then second half it's kind of a feel versus we'll just go straight feel. You know, I watched Steve Spurrier, Brian Kelly pull dudes out like
Every play. Yeah.
mid-series and get somebody else in there,
Yeah.
which I'm like, it's great for the guy's confidence. Really make sure he'll be good to go when he goes back in. And so like it's just like it's that confidence piece, Nicole. But like you said, there are good parts of it. I don't think this is the ideal scenario, but if both of the guys have done enough to warrant playing time at this point, I think you probably have to let it play out. It's just a question of I don't know if Ryan in his mind has a day where, okay, we're going to give this a couple of weeks, but by Notre Dame, like we're going to be locked in, and then we've got to pick it, and it's no turning back because you want to make sure whoever the starter is that if they make a mistake, you're not worried about getting pulled, and that's that confidence.
The 2015 problem.
Yes, to where it's like how good are like how aggressive can I be? Because if I do make a mistake, like is this my last series of the game?
Bob, obviously Bob brought up some great points. I think we can even take this back to the defensive thing that we've been talking about with defensive line.
Yeah.
When you try to rotate, Bob will tell you, you want to be in the flow of the game. This isn't everyone around you. This is as a player. You want every play. The more you play in a game, the more snaps you have, the more in a flow you get. Especially with the quarterback position going back and forth, it's tough. Having to lead the offense. I mean, you're the quarterback, right? Putting new guys in the huddle is tough. And so do I think it's a bad thing? No. We saw Michigan do it 2 years ago and was very successful with it. Although they got to like the 4th or 5th game of the year and they made a decision. I think, as Bob mentioned, it's fine the first 3 games of the year. Going in Notre Dame, you better have the guy, right? By that point, it's like, hey, this is our guy. We're riding with him and going. Because you also don't want those guys, especially when you get into a big game on the road, to feel the pressure of, oh, my God, if I make a mistake, I'm getting pulled. That's the last thing you want. So there's pros and cons to it. Hopefully it's I look at Twitter. I'm not as engaged with Twitter and social media as Bob is, but all of Buckeye Nation is saying it's a bad thing because both guys must suck. That's why they're not naming a starter.
So great. That's the conclusion it comes to.
That's the conclusion. What happens? Let me put something in people's ears that are watching this. What happens if they're both playing really well where it's hard to name a starter? Yeah. Like, look on the flip side, right? This isn't necessarily a bad thing. This might be one of those things where, hey, both guys are playing really good. We don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback, so let's see how they react when the bullets are truly flying in the middle of a game, national TV. Let's see what happens then.
It's so funny you said that because my gut reaction, like, I didn't even think that both of them were terrible. I thought both of them are incredible, and it's hard to decide which one deserves to be in the most.
Oh, if you're on Twitter, everyone thinks they suck.
Oh, it's terrible.
And maybe that's why I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah.
Good.
It might be, yeah.
It's a sad place.
You guys,
where dreams go to die.
You guys you've been there. You know what it's like to go through a training camp. Like, you are probably not going to play your best football every single day in the month of August against an opponent that knows what you're going to do and is seeing the same thing every day. Like, it would be fair to say that Kyle McCord had some good days and some bad days. Devin Brown had some good days and some bad days, and
some good and bad within a day.
Yeah. So that's, I think, why. And maybe I didn't take. I definitely didn't. Bob knows this. A couple of weeks ago, it was like what I had seen in 2 practices, which is the smallest sample size other than 0 that I possibly could have seen.
Or 1.
Or 1 would have been worse. But though I'm not even really counting the acclimatization first day.
What? You're not counting the shells, the run around?
No. Like 5 in the spring.
You and the fans
2,
were watching.
Yeah, we were. It wasn't really real football. But set it all aside. 5 in the spring and 2 in camp. Like, that informs what I'm thinking. And when Ryan Day says, well, they're going back and forth, I didn't really believe that because it wasn't what I had seen personally in 2 practices. Everybody else gets 15, 20, 25. So I probably should have kept a more open mind about that. And I think certainly you can see at this point that both had opportunities to go out there and show what their good days were for putting on the table for Ohio State and Ryan Day. And then they also had the same, which was I happened to see maybe a bad day for Devin Brown. Doesn't mean that the next one wasn't great. And that seems to be complicating the decision.
Well, not to step in front of Bob, but here's the thing. They're both highly rated quarterbacks. McCord was a 5-star. I think Devin Brown was a 5-star by some sites, right? They're good football players. They're not bad football players. But here's the thing. You already talked about it. When you go through spring and now you're going through training camp, and the same defense has been running against you every single day, you're going to have bad days. Guys are going to start sitting on routes. Guys are going to start picking up what you're doing, your mannerisms, things like that. Here's the other thing. You're standing behind an offensive line that is rotating guys because they're not sure who's going to be the starters, right? Now that we've gotten later in camp, for example, the scrimmage this past Saturday where both quarterbacks looked really, really good, that offensive line's formed, and now they got that first-team unit. But if you want to talk about having good days and bad days, you're going to have bad days when you're playing a defense that's elite, that we've all seen, and playing really well, and you've got an offensive line that's rotating in front of you with guys that sometimes aren't the dudes that should be standing in front of you.
Zach pointed out a lot of things there, and that's all true. I mean, the reality is, too, with this is, like you said, that there's some inconsistencies. People say different things on different days, and even within the same day, I think that's kind of what's been frustrating for Ryan is you've seen kind of up and down, even within a period, even within a practice. but I've always cautioned this because all the people are like, oh, these guys aren't any good. I'm like, well, I watched Justin struggle a lot too. I watched CJ struggle. I watched Dwayne struggle a little bit early on. I mean, the one thing Ryan has done a really good job of is once you establish who that quarterback is, which is why you'd like to do it sooner rather than later, is once he has, those guys have developed and they've gotten better. And by the end of the season, they're a much better player than they were week one. And that's kind of a testament to his coaching. And some of it's the game planning, putting guys in situations where they're comfortable, understanding what they like and what they don't. And then it's also trying to improve that player as an individual and making them grow during the season. So you're going to see that. And I'm fairly confident that the guy you see out there at Indiana for either version of whoever it is, that will be a better version you'll see at the end of the season.
Well, and let's be honest, their life standing in the pocket is going to be a hell of a lot easier against Indiana, Western Kentucky, and Youngstown State than it was their entire time in spring ball or training camp.
That's why I don't know if you can get more of an accurate evaluation on that. I mean, the competition level is essentially going down. It's a real game, but I mean, it's not like you're playing against.
I do think Indiana is going to reveal a lot because even if the personnel 1 through 85 is not comparable, they've had 9 months. It's on the road, and it's a coach who's proven he will blitz from literally anywhere.
Yeah, Tom Allen's a good defensive coach.
No doubt. But I also think the situation is completely different if you're starting off week one against Notre Dame, right? Like last year, it's a completely different scenario. And I think at that point, you're almost pushing like, hey, this is going to be the guy, and that's who you're rolling out. Indiana's always played us tough, especially on the road. No idea what it is. But I also am a firm believer from being over there that if it takes, our defense playing really good and shutting down Indiana's offense and us running the ball 50 times to win the game, we'll do it.
Yeah. It's within 2 weeks, Nicole. Roosters has to be getting ready for it next Saturday.
We are. It's the best time of year, honestly. It is. Buckeye Bowl trip starts next week.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
You're
12
kidding
trips
me.
for 2.
What?
Yes, to the Buckeye Bowl game. So
that starts next week?
Yes, next week.
My gosh.
I know. A lot going on.
You know what
Going
starts
to the
Deluxe
Rose Bowl?
accommodations?
Are we going to the Rose Bowl? Is that where we're going?
Do you think that's where we're going? Because I would prefer to go somewhere else.
No one wants to go.
No one wants to go to the Rose Bowl.
It's beautiful.
but-
It's definitely something
Please
everyone
don't
should
make
do.
me go back.
Well, it's the Rose Bowl and Cotton Bowl this year.
There's the two.
Yeah. Rose Bowl and Cotton Bowl?
Is that?
I think so.
All right. I don't remember.
Take your
Rose
word
Bowl
for
and
it.
Cotton Bowl. I'd rather the Rose Bowl over the Cotton Bowl.
You know what does start tomorrow, though, is
Threes Day.
Appetizer Threes Day. And that's when the featured appetizer from Roosters is going to be $3 all day long. And tomorrow's featured appetizers, it's going to be Mod
Liberty's
Sticks.
favorite.
That's right.
They're the favorite.
Liberty's favorite.
Well, they're a
She leaves
5-tool
anyway.
player.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite.
Everyone loves them. $3 all day long. Get there. Official
Anything
wing
else,
sponsor
Nicole?
of Ohio
I
State
think
Athletics.
that's it right now, guys.
Okay.
I've missed you guys. Thanks for having me back. Jack, thanks for coming in too.
Of course.
Bobby, always.
I'm just excited for tailgate season. We have Roosters at the tailgate.
That's so nice of you.
It's great.
They have the chips
So
out there for that?
nice.
We
Yeah.
don't do chips.
You
No,
don't?
I don't think.
Good.
No, you want to know something? We do chips. We do chips. We do boneless wings and chips.
So
That's
nice
what we
of you,
do.
Zach.
Can't
Thank
do better
you.
than that.
I was thinking we did fries, but no, we definitely do
The
chips.
chips.
We definitely
Chips
do
are the
chips.
way to go.
Chips are elite.
Yeah.
All right. Back to work for Nicole. We're going to take a break, and then Berm will be here as we
Where's he
continue
at?
along. He's hiding. We are at Roosters. It's a fun casual joint. We'll be right back.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. Berm is here.
Back in mozzarella sticks are also here.
They are.
$3. Not bad. That's it's like less 50 cents a stick.
It's pretty.
50 cents a stick.
Berm, your math is great.
That's what he's here for.
Can't beat that. 50 cents a stick.
Berm, you won't believe this, but we were talking about Ohio State potentially playing 2 quarterbacks. What do you think?
How excited are you about that?
I don't think it's a great thing for anyone, but I also understand why you may need to do it for the first 3 weeks of the season. I think that very rarely do you enter this situation where you have 2 unproven quarterbacks who both have high upsides, who are both kids who, you believe in, and you have a schedule that allows you to experiment. So why not do it? We talked about it on Snap Judgments just a little bit ago, but like the reality is,
What was your snappy, Jay?
my real thought is that with a player like Devin Brown, you may not entirely know what you're getting in practice because he is not going to be doing a lot of the things that he does in a game, which is running around a little bit more and nobody's hitting him. And I think that you want to see a like-to-like comparison. And then no matter how much you try to put these guys against the same defensive line or with the same wide receivers, it's not the same as when you're playing somebody else that wants to hurt you.
Just let the defense tackle him. That's the simplest solution.
Well, that's
All right.
That's an argument that could have been made a couple weeks ago, I think. I mean,
Get
Make it
another
we'll make it
Braxton
tomorrow.
Miller situation.
We'll make it tomorrow at practice.
Yeah.
Well, that cleared it up.
Zach's on board.
That cleared it up for JT.
Yeah, they did clear it up for JT. You're right. Yeah, took Braxton out of the equation quickly.
I mean, yeah, so easy. There we go. We figured it out. No, but I mean, I think you have players, you have the schedule that aligns for you to do it, and it gives you a better chance to see what they can actually do. Devin, we all have seen like the energy he has, the way he kind of presents himself a little differently. I think that there is
He's got a mullet.
There's a risk that he's a little bit too exuberant at times, and maybe gets plays outside of where he should be playing when you have that many guys around you, right? So sometimes you want to do a little bit more than you should. On the flip side, there's Kyle, who maybe needs to be a little bit riskier at times. And I think that if you play them in games against other people, you're going to get a better opportunity of seeing exactly who they are. And so,
Who do you think should be the starter?
I don't have enough.
We need an answer.
I think Devin Brown or Kyle McCord should be the starter.
You're out of the Lincoln. You're out of the
Snubbing
Lincoln.
Tristan Gebbia too.
We simply, nobody in the media has enough access to tell. I mean, you guys you've watched every practice, so
No, not everyone.
you
but
have
decent.
certainly have more insight into this than we watched two half-assed scrimmages or two half-assed practices where they basically did a walkthrough for 3/4 of the time each way. Like we have no idea. So anything that we hear is secondhand. And, you know, we can see in the spring, I think we got a better sense of where those guys were in the spring. And that's why when spring ended multiple times, Austin and I and Bill will be like, you know, this could really go either way. Devin Brown has a certain it to him, and everyone acknowledges that. But at the same time, sometimes if you have a little it, sometimes you get a little in front of it and you play outside of your head. And so I think that's what you have to worry about. Again, back to the original point, let them both play in the first 3 games and go from there. I don't know.
I like it.
Maybe not series by series. That's messed up. Like, let's go 3 series, and then then go from there. And then you let them split the Western Kentucky and Youngstown State games. Okay. I don't want to take things from Jim Harbaugh, but that's how it worked for Michigan a year ago. And
That's good. You know what?
Was it a year?
Last year.
Last year was the year where he said,
You're right. It was.
Cade is going to start this game and play the whole game, and then JJ is going to play all of this.
You're right.
That is.
I said it was 2 years ago.
Well, they did a little bit more rotation the year before, right?
Yeah.
JJ played a lot as a freshman, and that's why they were in that position a year ago. But I don't think that generally you want to emulate too much of the way Harbaugh does things.
I agree.
But I think in this case,
so your snap judgment was about quarterbacks.
The entire show, yes, minus a couple seconds talking about Carnell Tate.
Okay.
Your thoughts on Carnell Tate?
I don't have Ryan Day's thoughts were that he's
pretty good.
He's playing too good not to play.
No,
Today made it hard.
Yeah,
all of the questions that Ryan Day got on Monday were 90% were about the
quarterback centric. Well, yeah,
and I get that, but nothing has really changed from today, from a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Here's a snappy J for you.
Like
you ready?
Yes.
At some point in this season, there will be 3 true freshman starters.
That's more of a bold P than a snappy J.
But doesn't matter. He can call whatever he wants.
I'll call it whenever it was.
So, so now you have to do the drill down. So we're talking Luke Montgomery is one of them.
Correct.
You're talking Carnell Tate is one of them.
Correct.
Who's the third?
Malik Hartford.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Throughout the season, those 3 will be starters.
We spent a lot of time already today talking about the quarterbacks after Ryan Day's press conference, and like that was one of the things that really perked my ears up in Jim Knowles' conversation today. Was like, it's pretty clear that there's an opportunity for Sonny Styles, Lathan Ransom, and Malik Hartford to all be on the field at the same time. And to me, like I dream of like the days of Damon Moore. Do you remember him from Foster back?
Oh yeah.
Maybe
or that sweet mirrored visor.
Number 13. He was.
What a weird thing to dream about.
No.
Him and Gary Berry.
Safeties that make you regret playing football.
Oh yeah.
That's what I like.
Those guys would do it.
And those three are going to hurt.
They throw their body around for sure.
I'm excited to see that. And, I think it's great. And Jim Knowles on Monday, like multiple times, just said, I basically screwed up last year. And I appreciated that a lot. Like to hear him say, I didn't really play the depth. I didn't do everything I could have done. I've spent the last couple months like thinking, what do I have to do better? What do I have to do better? And it's just really refreshing that a coach is out there just putting it on the line.
I've always believed that if you have guys, and I forget which coach told me this along the way, but if you have guys who are worthy of playing, you need to get them on the field. He's like, you've got to find a way, whether that's rotationally with someone, packaging things. It's like, but if everybody sees that this guy's good enough to play, the only way they're going to then improve is by actually getting reps. Yeah. So those guys that are at that point,
especially once you get to the season, you have to.
And on the flip side, if they're good enough to play and they don't, then anyone else who's maybe feeling like, hey, what's the point of even putting in all this work if I don't get on the field?
That's one thing, even as a starter, you got to understand, like if this guy's behind you, like you're better than they are, but they're still good enough and they can give us something to the team. And you know what they're going to give you is some rest. You'll be more rested. And it's not going to be like a 50-50 split, but if they can come in and give you 25% of the game, 30%, especially early in the season, it's only going to save you down the line. It's going to give them more experience. And so it's going to be a win for everybody. So I do like the fact that he was self-reflective in that.
I also think it says a lot that, a lot of times with true freshmen, people will be like, oh, they're good. And then you normally see them come on like halfway through the year and it's like, oh, now they're starters. For Jim Knowles to come out and say, hey, listen, Sonny and Lathan are our guys. But then behind that, you got a trio of dudes that are fighting, and Malik Hartford's right there in that conversation to be a starter like game one. I think that says a lot, especially from normal coaches. They normally protect that true freshman to kind of keep it back there and would say, oh, these two guys. And then you throw Malik in there, like Bob said, in different situations. Next, he starts making some plays like he did in camp, and then he becomes a starter. But, man.
Well, especially, I would say a heck of a lot about Malik Hartford because Jim Knowles was talking about it. The other two guys that he mentioned, Jihad Carter, who comes in as a starter from a Power 5 program, and Josh Proctor, who's been here for 15 years and has played in a lot of football games and has a ton of athleticism. To say that Malik Hartford could come in and be in that mix, whether he starts against Indiana or not, that's pretty high praise for the ceiling.
For sure.
See. And he's passed Kai Stokes, obviously, on the depth chart at this point, who, a year ago.
That was the darling last year.
Right. Yeah. So it goes to show, like what you're saying, you can't just assume that because someone's younger than you, they're not going to play. And I think that has to be the case for Ohio State. It is the case at Georgia. It is the case at Alabama. The younger guys, if they're better, are going to play.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Ohio State has defaulted to play the veterans at times, but I think that there has been a reluctance to really give opportunity because you're worried about, hey, if this goes wrong and they give up a touchdown. Because
I think some positions they have been reluctant. We've talked about it on some of our defensive stuff. I think they have been reluctant. I think they need to have the mindset of doesn't matter class, doesn't matter feelings. Yeah. The best guys are going to play.
Well, and that's the names we heard today from Jim Knowles multiple times were Malik Hartford, Sonny Styles, C.J. Hicks, Kenyatta Jackson. It's going to look different this year, and I think that it has to be the case. I wanted, if I can, before we change topics,
yes,
you guys mentioned Xavier Johnson and the story of being a walk-on. Like, this is a kid who had a Power 5 offers and chose to walk on at Ohio State. So it's not just a case of a kid going through the process and coming in as a walk-on and earning a scholarship and becoming he bet big time on himself. Big time, man. And he could have gone off to the NFL last year, and he came back. I mean, so I just think maybe those are little stories that are going to get lost in the mix when.
Well, you write it, tell it.
Well, no, I'm interested to see what they do with him this year because you've obviously got the big two at wide receiver, but then you've got some freshmen like. You're talking about Carnell Tate. You're talking about
Ennis and
Rogers, and both Rogers. Not Ennis isn't, but I think the Rogers are maybe a little bit farther ahead than Ennis. But
Brandon got here in June, and those guys got here in
correct. And those guys, I mean, they're all playing really well. So where does X fit in there? And then you want to talk about running back. The Georgia game, I loved what they did with him by putting him in the running back and letting him do those things. But how do you do that now at running back with Travion, with Mayan, with Chip that they want to do some stuff with Dallin Hayden?
Prior,
no doubt. In my opinion, Dallin Hayden might be the best guy.
But if you need a play, X gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I thought Ohio State
well done
wanted to commit to X, and it was doing stuff that I think it clearly designed for Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because they would put him on the field. Was it Michigan State? It was like all right, well, clearly Xavier Johnson is on the field. They're going to do something with this guy. Like, if you're going to use him and you want 4 or 5 touches and you want to get creative with the different packages, you probably have to show him 10 or 12 times so that it's not obvious where the football is going to go on every snap. And as you said, Zach, then you start thinking, well, what does that mean for running backs? Who are you going to take off the field elsewhere if Carnell Tate is pushing, or, you want to play 12 personnel, whatever. Like, all those things have to play into it.
And they're going to want to play 12 personnel. I mean, in a Ryan Day offense, you want to show that. It creates mismatch, especially with how good Cade Stover is. Joe Royer, that they want to get him on the field. Thurman, right? The true freshman tight end. They want to get some of these guys on the field to create mismatches. Well, you got to take guys off the field in order to do that, So it'll be interesting.
That's where I think you have the possibility, because Xavier Johnson is so versatile, that the guy in the wide receiver room that may end up seeing his minutes decline is actually Julian Fleming, as opposed to Xavier Johnson, who I think will be on the field more because he can be moved all around.
No. I completely agree with you, but I think Fleming minutes might come down because of some of those true freshmen, what they're able to do.
Because they're going to have to be on the field, and Xavier can move around.
Correct, but if you have Tate, Emeka, Marvin all on the field, and you have X out there, now what are you doing? Taking a tight end off the field?
Yeah.
So – yeah, I mean, it's we'll see what happens. Or taking a running back off the field,
which is dangerous when you have unproven quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that's I think that the package deployment will be very interesting to see what Ryan does.
Probably more so than we've ever seen.
Yeah, because they have. You even mentioned G. Scott at tight end. I mean, they could go 3 deep, 4 deep at tight end if they need to. They 5 arguably running backs that can go. You can do some unique things with Chip Trainum. Same as you can, obviously, with
When's
Xavier.
the last time you saw Ohio State go 23 personnel? They could go 23 personnel and show a 5-wide look.
And that's
honestly, you can go 23 and show a 5-wide look.
You put Evan Pryor out there.
No. You have your normal running back or whoever, and then Chip Trainum's your fullback. You could spread all those guys out with G. Scott, Joe Royer, and Cade Stover, and go literally 5 wide out of 23 personnel.
I mean, they have the ability, and that's what I'm just going to be curious, because Ryan knows. From the NFL, it's a matchup game, and to be able to get into that, and you can go 10 personnel, you can go 23 personnel, you can go a lot of 11, you can do all these different things. How do you choose to deploy it, though? Because you're only going to have 65 to 70 snaps. And what games are you going to choose to release it? I don't think they'd probably show a lot of that before Notre Dame or other things, but being able to oscillate back and forth and to jump in and out of those, it's a nightmare for defensive coordinators to have to sit there and plan for that. But like you said, you've got a lot of mouths to feed, and how do you kind of make them all hungry and appease them all?
The great thing is that we don't have to keep waiting forever for a game to see it in practice. And
12 days.
It actually counts. We're so close.
12 days.
Can taste,
taste it right there.
Ohio State at Indiana. So next
we're going to go to Indiana. We'll talk about this next week, but do we need to find new places to eat and drink in Indiana? Because we're going to be there so much this year.
Yeah, we're going to have to pay taxes in Indiana.
Fortunately, we should probably figure
out
so much
to go. What? Because of
Indiana,
Notre Dame,
Purdue, and then Big Ten championship.
Berm is on the record.
That's true. I forgot where to go.
It's not all the same area, though, Berm.
You have to stay.
Look at your geography.
We stay at the same spot every time.
Because you can't stay in Bloomington.
Can't stay in West Lafayette.
You can't stay in West Lafayette. So we stay in Indy for both of those games.
Don't you remember when we stayed at Indiana? We stay at that place that's like the horror house. It's like a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
Horror house, not a horror.
You go in Indianapolis. I do remember that.
HRW.
But I thought they did that because there's not hotels.
No, there's nowhere around.
Well, from a team standpoint, you got to have meeting rooms. You got to have the venue.
There's just not a lot.
You got to have all those things. But
it's 40 minutes away. It doesn't.
It's like Athens, Ohio, dude. There's just not a lot there to stay. So
for the media, they sell out. You have to have a couple night minimums. For some reason, there are Indiana fans that maybe it's because Ohio State fans book all the rooms as soon as the game's
Bloomington's not the worst though. It's definitely West
It's a fun town, but like when they played there, they opened the season in 2017.
JK's first.
Yeah, I was doing sideline stuff with ESPN. They get me a hotel in Indy. I'm like, at that point, it's 1 o'clock. I'm like, I might as well just drive. I'm just gonna hang a right and turn all the way down 70 and get back.
Are you guys staying in Indy for Notre Dame too?
No, we're staying outside for that.
Staying in Chicago. Big city living.
We're doing the real
Get
deal.
shot and we'll drag you over there.
I have a buddy who lives there who has plenty of room.
Oh, okay.
And we can walk to the stadium. So
really? You've got a buddy that lives in South Bend?
That's right. John Bryce.
Are you friends with Golden? Al Golden?
No. The answer was John Bryce.
Man. When are you taking Bob and I on the road?
You guys can. I was told by John We can talk about this off the
As
air.
many dudes as you want.
You guys want to come crash there, you're more than welcome.
Hold
So,
up. I saw in your search deal, there was something about a human centipede and things like that going on. That's not this isn't a Notre Dame.
That's a different trip.
Okay.
That's not this one. But
Must have missed that one.
Yeah, maybe not Notre Dame.
It's
Maybe
worth a Google.
Take us on the road somewhere else.
I don't know. That's a pretty big one. Might be the biggest.
West Lafayette,
Hey, maybe
The world's
Thanksgiving Day
largest-
weekend.
world's largest drum.
You two figure it out. We'll just take you whenever you want to go. All right.
All right. We got to fly.
The
We don't
show's-
drive, though.
that's-
We don't drive.
Take it up with this guy. Take it up with this guy.
We'll meet you there.
Okay.
All right. We fully jumped off the rails. Thanks, Berm, for the detour to talk about the wonderful state of Indianapolis.
Mhm.
Wow.
That's what it's called. Yeah, that's definitely right. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for Nicole Cox for having us into Roosters in the Horseshoe Lounge. Thanks to Bobby Carpenter, Zach Boren, Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. We will see you next week. It will be game week. Talk to you then.